Kyle Lowry has officially been diagnosed with a left hand sprain. He left the game against the Houston Rockets in the middle of that third quarter last night after contesting a layup attempt by Houston. He went straight to the locker room and didn't even foul to get out of the game. He went straight to the locker room, did return to the bench, and then after the game, the Heat Twitter account tweeted out that he has been diagnosed with a left-hand sprain. He is day-to-day, and this is the Heat Report. I am Nic Rohloff. A lot to get into because let's just jump right into it, right? Like, how long will Kyle Lowry be out for the Miami Heat? Because you can argue that the Heat's biggest need to make a better roster and potentially make a run to the NBA Finals in back-to-back years is fixing that point guard position. And then with Kyle Lowry potentially missing an extended period of time, this could potentially be something that absolutely needs to be addressed quicker rather than later. And how long will Lowry be out? It depends on the severity of the injury. I've seen some people be out for 2 to 3 weeks. I've seen some people play through it. Just going back, Jason Tatum was dealing with a wrist injury last year or a couple years in the postseason, and he still played through it. Obviously it's the playoffs, but not the regular season. But it all depends on how severe this injury is for Kyle. Let's also mention he's 37, so it's going to take a little bit longer for that older person to heal rather than a 25-year-old. X-rays did come back negative, so that is a good sign, at least in the long term, for Kyle Lowry. But that begs the question, do the Heat need to trade for a point guard? It's been their biggest need. We've detailed and went through a couple guys that I think the Heat should trade for at that point guard position. Do the Heat need to trade a point guard? We'll dive into that in the rest of this video and give you 4 point guards that I think the Heat could have their eyes on. But first, show me. Do the Heat need to make a trade, and do you want the Heat to make a trade, as we are just under a month away from the NBA trade deadline? It's February 8th. Well, it's January 9th. Show me that the Heat need to make a trade or you want a trade to happen by liking today's video. The Heat absolutely need to trade for a point guard. I don't know how many times I'm going to beat this dead horse, as we say, but it's something the Heat need more than anything. You can argue backup center is something that they need, but I think that guard spot, a facilitator and a defensive guy paired up alongside here on that backcourt is something Miami absolutely needs. And the first point guard we're going to look at today is Terry Rozier, the Charlotte Hornets point guard. And this isn't going to be the defensive point guard that could be paired up with Hero in the backcourt to kind of shy away from his defensive inefficiencies, but Rozier would absolutely help this offense and create a better scoring backcourt and give Miami another bucket getter. Zach Lowe of ESPN actually connected the two on yesterday's Zach Lowe podcast. He said the reason why I like Terry Rozier to Miami is I don't know if the Lowry thing has run its course. I like the juice that a guy like Rozier would bring him. He's averaging 24 a game on good shooting. He's a proven late-game shot maker. I think that's an interesting fit. And I agree with Zach Lowe. And the numbers, boy, are they a little bit surprising. Rozier has not played in every game for Charlotte, only 23 this season, but he makes them count. My goodness, did anyone have Terry Rozier averaging 24 a game to go alongside 7 assists on their bingo card this year? If so, congratulations. But shooting 46% from the field and 36.7% from beyond the arc is something that could really benefit for Miami. And if you remember watching the Hornets take on the Heat just a week and a half ago, well, Rozier went for 30 and couldn't miss from deep. He was destroying the Miami Heat's defense, getting to wherever he wanted on the floor and knocking down shots. And one thing that Rozier is known for is he the best isolation defender? No, but he is very smart. He's a good heady basketball player, knows the opposing offenses and what they want to do. He can get into the passing lanes, 1.1 steals per game. And what do I like my point guards doing? Well, if they're a scoring point guard, scoring 24 games, nice, but bare minimum, you cannot turn the ball over and you have to run the offense. And Terry Rozier, 3.2 assist to turnover ratio. Yeah, that will play, only averaging about 2 turnovers a night to go alongside that 7.5 assists. So that is something that is really enticing in my opinion. Three more guys to get to on my list today that the Heat could target at the trade deadline. But would you trade for Terry Rozier? Type Y for yes, type N for no. Let me know if you'd want to see Pat Riley make a move for the former Louisville Cardinal. Next on the list, Tyus Jones. And yeah, you knew he was going to be on this list of point guards that I'm interested in because I don't know how many times I have to go through this, but I am all in on bringing Tyus Jones to the 305. He has really taken a step this year for the Wizards after being traded this offseason, kind of a throw-in in the big shakeups across the league with Bradley Beal. But Jones has been spectacular for Washington today. He's played in 36 games, so he's durable, right? He's been playing in almost every game Washington has played. And even though he's been dealing with the shenanigans of Jordan Poole and Kyle Kuzma at times, he is still putting up career highs in scoring and field goal shooting. 12.7 points per game, 5.6 assists, while shooting above 50% from the field as a guard. I know it's limited and the volume isn't that high, but if you're shooting above 50% as a guard, you're doing something right, and not to mention an elite three-point shooter this year at 43.9%. But the main reason why I love Tyus Jones, as I just mentioned it with Terry Rozier, I like when the point guard can run the offense, limit turnovers, and get your other players going. And if we could have Tyus Jones in Miami facilitating for Jimmy, for Bam in the pick and roll, and Tyler Hero in the backcourt, it would just be a downright better offense for the Heat, which would, one, limit the fourth quarter issues Miami has faced this year, and create just an overall better flow in an Eric Spoelstra offense that is predicated on off-ball cuts, off-ball screens, and reading what the other defense is giving you. That 6.4 assist to turnover ratio isn't just good, it is elite. It is one of the best of all time. Tyus Jones refuses to turn the ball over. 200 assists this year to 31 turnovers. That is ridiculous, folks. That would only make the Miami Heat a better basketball team. And we'll have you covered as the NBA trade deadline is just about 31 days away. So hit that sub button. Won't want to miss a thing of Miami Heat trade rumors and the coverage leading up to the deadline. We're also live multiple times a week for Heat watch parties. We'll be live tomorrow on a Wednesday night game as the Heat host the Thunder. It should be a fun one. Hit that sub button. Don't miss a thing of Heat news and rumors, and lock us in for the rest of the year. Also, I want to show some love as we are halfway through this video to the sponsor, which is Factor Meals. It's America's #1 ready-to-eat meal delivery service. And during the new year, you got to get those New Year's resolutions in check. So Factor's ready-to-eat meal delivery takes the stress out of meal planning and sets you up for success in this new year. Skip the grocery stores, prep work, cooking fatigue. Instead, get chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals delivered right to your door with over 35 meals to choose from per week. You can get keto, calorie smart, vegan and veggie, protein plus. There's also 55 weekly add-ons, whether it be protein shakes, juices, smoothies. They have it all to make sure you have those nutritious needs covered in those New Year's resolutions. Also, forget frantic lunch preps and rush dinners. The 2-minute meals are your secret weapon to tackle those New Year's resolutions in the new year. Fuel it fast with restaurant-quality meals all delivered right to your door. So go to factormeals.com/NBAchat50 and use code NBAchat50 to get 50% off. One more time, NBAchat50 at factormeals.com/NBAchat50. That link and promo code is clickable in the comments and description of today's video. Let's move on to Davion Mitchell from the Sacramento Kings. And this one's a fascinating one, and this one takes a little bit of a different route than the two names we already mentioned this on. And I'll tell you what, Davion Mitchell screams Heat culture. If you've never watched the young man play, he is a tenacious defender. He is someone who gets down in his defensive stance, does anything to win a basketball game. And if you're wondering, well, why would the Kings trade Davion Mitchell? He was a former lottery pick, the former national championship player for Baylor a couple of years ago. Well, Jake Fischer of Yahoo Sports actually reported that the Kings have made Harrison Barnes, Kevin Huerter, and Davion Mitchell available for trade. I'll tell you what, I love Davion Mitchell's game, but he is certainly the worst player out of the other two that were mentioned. You look at what Mitchell's done this year in Sacktown, it's been underwhelming. He's kind of been pushed out of the rotation, to be honest. Only 13 minutes a night. He's not known for his offense, right? 3.7 points per game. He struggles with the jump shot. He struggles to get into the lanes and finish amongst big men because he is a little bit of an undersized guard, and you can see that by his field goal shooting, which is 36.1%. But that's the concern. If you're a smaller guard that can't finish inside the paint, well, you got to knock down the jumpers. And he has not been able to do that, only shooting 24.6% from beyond the arc. And I kind of mentioned it, my scouting report with Davion Mitchell, the former starting point guard for the Baylor Bears on that national title team, which is a little side tangent, by the way. If you're a college basketball guy like myself, I loved those Baylor Bears, and producer Smitty even knows it. I said Baylor was going to win the national championship before the year started and had them winning it in my bracket. Your boy Rozie knows some college hoops. But he's a tenacious defender who gets in the passing lanes, is disruptive, will take the challenge of guarding the opposing team's top guard. Problem, no offense. And in this league, you're going to need offense. Now, could you sway me and say Davion Mitchell starting next to Tyler Herro could work? I get it because he is kind of just the guy who defends, and Tyler Herro can be the playmaker, initiator on offense. But Mitchell is kind of an undersized guy, and I don't know if I'm willing to take the deficiencies on offense, even though I really like his defensive game. So let me ask you this. Do the Heat need an offensive or defensive point guard if they replace Kyle Lowry? You got Herro in the backcourt, but you also need some offense as well. Type O for offense, type D for defense. Let me know in the comment section. Someone who gives you a little bit best of both worlds there is Malcolm Brogden, the guard for the Portland Trailblazers, where the Heat know him quite well with his days in Indiana and last year in Boston. Brogdon's had a pretty solid start to the new year in Portland. 15 a night, 5 assists, shooting not so good from the field, but it's funny because he's shooting 41% from three, which is just flat out elite. So for Brogdon, it's almost 3 points or nothing this year as a Blazer. And as much as I love Brogdon, and I think he actually is the perfect fit for Miami, you trade Lowry to Portland for Brogdon. He's that starting guard that is a good shooter, as you saw on screen. He's a good scorer. He's a good defensive player, and he could facilitate and run an offense. He's also a good size guard, so he's got the size and defensive ability to help Herro in the backcourt and also provide some elite shooting and playmaking. The lone issue, and it is a big one, is that he is a member of the Portland Trailblazers. I don't see Pat Riley and the Miami Heat engaging with Joe Cronin and the Blazers again. I feel like there's a real bad taste in Pat Riley's mouth from this past offseason of the Joe Cronin. I don't know how to explain what he did. Every time I mention his name, my skin crawls a little bit. It's like the boogeyman. Like, I just want to beat him up, dude. Like, I just want to I want to square up with him in the parking lot. I want to square up with him. If I'm in Dallas, next time Portland's in Dallas, I'm ready to go find him. But either way, I don't see the Heat making a deal with Portland. As well as Brogdon would fit this team and help them potentially get to that next level, I don't see it happening, which is very, very unfortunate. That'll do it for today's video. As always, appreciate you guys if you tuned in throughout the entire episode of the Heat Report. Make sure you guys have subscribed if you haven't already, because we're going to be your one-stop shop for all Heat trade rumors. We'll have it covered better than anyone else, and we're live multiple times a week. So hit that sub button. I'll see you in the next video. Go Heat.